These P16 units are wonderful in-ear monitor systems. They give you a lot of functionality with EQ, with tons of volume and headroom, the ability to very quickly push a button and adjust the volume of what's going on in your ears, save settings, all kinds of things. But you're limited to 16 channels, which is why it's called P16. However, there's a few tricks you can use to get really more than 16 channels or 16 mixes into your ears. It's just might take a little bit of work to set up initially, and then maybe even each time. So you see here on this particular P16, we have channel 1 is lead vocal, which is actually a mix of 3 vocals. I'll get to that in a second. And then we have vocals 4, 5, and 6. We got keys 1, keys 2, but I've mixed in there keys 2 or pad, or sometimes it's and pad. Electric guitar, which is actually a bus mix. Acoustic 1, 2, 3, bass, horn, which is sometimes horn, sometimes is bass, sometimes is a dobro, sometimes is a trumpet. Then we got drums, which is just one channel from electronic drum set. Then we got our preacher and computer, which is mixed together, room plus choir mics, which are mixed together, and then an MC mic, or what some churches call an MD mic, which is somebody speaking into a microphone just for the band. So, which of course, we always want to be turned up, but it's not turned up here because this P16 is actually connected to a live wedge for the front singers. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to go into the X32 app and make sure it connects. Yes, it does. As you see here, this channel's bass Todd. This one's drums. This one is has a couple options to it, and this one we sometimes have a bass plugged into this particular channel. Channel 12 says bass brand. This one says trombone. And when we need to plug something different into channel 12, for example, if we want to plug in a trumpet or whatever, we're gonna hit that channel. We are going to go to a preset that we've already set. Let's say we're going to put in the trumpet. So we're going to load the trumpet preset. Then we are going to hit load, and we will load it. Pretty easy. However, sometimes when we do that, it messes up a bus. So every time that we load a preset, we need to make sure that we go and we look at our buses, our bus mixes. And for example, the floor monitor here is bus 1. So we want to say sends on faders. We want to go to the first bus. And we just want to make sure that if we had loaded trumpet, we just want to make sure that floor monitor doesn't have too much of whatever we want in it. Sometimes you may not want, if it was the trumpet, we may not want that in at all. So when we loaded the trumpet preset, if we were to put that in there, which let's go ahead and do that. So go to that channel, go to preset, load trumpet. There we go. And we want to go back to the floor wedge here. We do not want the trumpet in that floor wedge because it's going to have enough audio on the, or have enough volume on the stage already. However, it may have been automatically set like that. And so we just want to make sure anytime you load a preset that you go back to a bus, to all the buses that that preset may have affected. All right, so there we go. We'll leave that as it is. These are all in-ear monitor mixes. And so those will certainly get affected each week, but the people using the in-ear monitors, the wireless in-ear monitors, will adjust however they want. But you see here, bus 6, I have a vocal lead bus. Now I only want in that vocal lead bus, I don't want any instruments, and I don't want mics 4, 5, or 6, because as you see in the P16, 4, 5, and 6 have their own channels. I can explain why at another time. All the lead vocals, meaning anybody who's going to be leading a song, they're going to be using microphones 1, 2, or 3, and so I'm going to mix them together for ease of the person using the P16, which means the band, they're going to have all three vocal leaders grouped into one, so they can just have one volume that turn up, and most likely for the band anyways, they'll just turn 4, 5, and 6 down completely, unless, as in the case of this P16, which is plugged into a front floor wedge, they might have that turned up. So here we go. We want to make sure that when we load a preset, that vocals 1, 2, and 3 are all turned up in bus 6, which they currently are. But if we were to load a preset on this mic or this mic, very often it automatically adjusts the amount of that channel that's going into that bus 6, or that vocal lead bus. So you just always have to check. Anytime you load a vocal preset, just make sure we're not accidentally putting vocal 4 or any band or anything else other than 1, 2, 3 vocals into that bus. All right, so here's another pretty common issue. We're going to get out of, we don't want to worry about that bus, but as you can see here, the other buses that we have, keys 2 in pad needs to be just keys, just pad, and keys 2, which keys 2 is not actually in use right now. This next bus is, let's see, the room mics plus the choir mics. So we want to make sure nothing else is in that bus other than the room mics and the choir mics, which, as you can see here, room mics are actually, or the crowd mics are actually turned down. So we're going to bring those up some, and it may just depend each week. The downside of putting crowd mics into your in-ears or into any floor monitors, or into any monitor or bus send, not floor monitors, obviously. That'd be a little crazy. But the downside of that is when you're in an empty room like ours, you're going to get tons of just echo and reverb from the empty room. And so that's why that's often down. But on Sunday morning, when the room is full and people are singing, we might want to adjust that back up, maybe even a whole lot. But for right now, I'm just going to leave it out. So as you see, the bus 10 here is rooms plus choir. Bus 11 is electric guitar. So our electric guitarists like to play stereo. So we mixed 2 left channel and right channel for electric guitar inputs into one bus. So it only took up one spot on the P16. That's a way to just kind of save some space. You can do the same thing with drums, of course. You see here, preacher, mic, and computer channel is together into one. But let's say we add in a whole new channel, all right, a whole new input. So this channel 11, input 11, has nothing in it right now. But let's say we have an instrument that gets plugged in this week. It's a banjo. We have a microphone plugged in. Well, channel 11 is currently not in the P16. So if he wants to hear himself in his in-ear monitors, he's not going to. So what do we do about that? We're going to go up to routing, and we're going to route the P16s. Okay, first we have to pick one of the P16 outputs that is not going to be used, because if we bring in the banjo on one of these, we don't want it to replace somebody else that needs to be in there. All right, but let's say we don't have the horn this week. We could have just plugged the banjo into the horn line. That'd have been easy. But let's say we didn't want to do that for whatever reason. Or maybe we needed to stick the banjo in with something else. Whatever the case is, we're just going to put it into output 12 on the P16. So in order to do that, we are going to go to P16 output 12. And right now it's trombone. But remember, we wanted to change it to 11. See, again, it didn't change. We're going to click back off, click back on. There we go. So there's that purple channel. So if we were to plug that banjo or whatever into that, now he can adjust himself in his in-ears by channel 12, turning it up. All right, if we bust a few things together, so let's say we created, I think I have an empty bus here, which is, let's say, bus 9. Let's say we wanted all acoustic guitars into one bus. I don't know why we do that, but let's say we did. We're going to bring up that acoustic guitar, this is a mandolin, but let's just say we put it together. Let's say bus 9, we want into bus 9 we want to be all acoustic guitars. All right, let's make sure we don't have any other acoustic guitars in there. Nope, nothing else. Let's make sure we don't have any voices in there, because that'll really confuse things. We don't want the preacher in the mic in there. We don't want the choir mics. We want to take everything out except for those acoustic guitars. So now bus 9 is mixed with just guitars. All right, remember it's bus 9, so we would go, let's go back to the routing, P16, and let's say we want output number 14 to be that mix bus that we just created, which is 9. So we're going to hit 9. You see, there's a glitch. It didn't change the picture, so we're going to click off, click back on, and there we go. It was called production. Well, let's actually, I want to change the name of that from production to, let's see, what was that? Number 9. So we're going to go to mix bus 9, click on it right there, and let's go to the name, and we're going to change that to acoustic, ACO. There we go. Now when we go into the routing tab, when we look on the P16 and we're in P16, what was it? Was it 9? No. There we go, 14. You see there, it changed the name, so it's acoustic. All right. So that's how we can utilize the presets. We can use the buses, and it really has to be, to some extent, at least checked back over every time you use, plug something new in, change a bus, load a preset. Just got to make sure we go into and make sure that the P16 outputs are all what they should be, because there's nothing more stressful for a band member who tries to turn up his acoustic, but it's not actually that. Or he's hearing a vocal 5 or whatever, and he turns it down, or she turns it down, but it's still coming through strong because it was accidentally mixed into one of these other outputs. So hopefully that's helpful.